Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crypt. I am your host, Lewis, otherwise known as Dixie Normus, and today we're going to be going over the event Top Deck Titans that I participated in over the past weekend. This is going to be also just take two of this video since I don't know what happened. 15 minutes in, OBS stopped recording for whatever reason. So I might be looking over to my second monitor a lot more than I usually would, just to keep an eye on OBS to make sure it doesn't do anything sneaky again, because I do not want to record this video for a third time. So let's get right into it. Now, leading up to the event, I could not go to sleep. The night before, I was struggling to go to sleep. I don't know what was going on. It's not like I was nervous about it, but like, you know, that tired feeling that you get and you just lay there, but you just can't fall asleep, but you are tired. That's what was happening to me, and I'm not sure what that was about. As the night went on, I got more and more frustrated that I couldn't go to sleep, which made me not fall asleep even more since I was just getting angry. So I was going into this tournament with like 3 hours of sleep and probably the worst magic I've ever done thus far. So that really was not great, but you know, we'll get into the games and we'll go over them. And I'm also then hoping to have some time to post videos of these events, or at least the online events, on this channel, or I don't know if I need to make a separate channel because I'm not sure how the algorithm handles with like gameplay and then just like, you know, this podcast video format. I know YouTube and its algorithm is like really picky and wants to make sure people are like, or channels are in one lane and not spreading out too much. So I might have to make a second channel. Hopefully not, but you know, whatever. If I have to, sure. But that's what my plans are, so you guys can see games and get some more stuff. Now, like I stated before, these notes are post-game. Usually, like right after I try to think about what I did, and I don't really have time to go through videos, just because I don't have that much free time. I have a full-time job, so a lot of these are just from memory, like right after the game, right before like game 2 begins. Sometimes games go to time, and I don't really have time to, you know, make good notes throughout the game or right afterwards, since I have to probably get into the next game right away, or like take a break and stuff. So let's get into the breakdown of the games. So game 1, it's me on Cringe Farm, Tivit in 2nd seat, Rocco in 3rd seat, Corvault in 4th seat. I mulligan down to 5 with no interaction but a rift. Tivit mulligans to 5, Rocco and Tivit keep a 2nd 7, and it was pretty much a snap keep, so a little worried. In my hand, I do keep a turn 1 Sentinel and potentially a turn 3 Rhystic Study, so not too bad for a mulligan to 5. I start out with Sentinel, Tivit land go, Rocco land go, Corvald land, Crypt, Goblin Recruiter, and puts on top a Shusher, Dockside, Skirk, Impulsive Pilfer, Mind Goblin, passes the turn. I land. Okay, I play land. Think of casting a tutor for a Crypt, to then be able to cast the Rhystic Study. But since I know he has the Dockside and it's probably the top card, I decide to wait and, you know, wait for him to cast it first and then go after that. I pass end step. Tivit casts a Brainstorm, draw me a card. Goes to Tivit, land, Talisman, draws me a card again, passes. Rocco land passes. Corval throws on the Dockside, only making 2 treasures. Plays a Phyrexian Tower and passes. Table looks clear enough for me, so I cast a D-Tutor, grab the Crypt, cast a Rhystic Study, pass. Tivit plays a Soul Ring and a Flesh Duplicate, drawing me 3 cards in the process, and then Corval sacks the Dockside to this tower so the Tivit can't clone it. Tivit then just uses it to clone Sentinel, passes the turn. Rocco plays land, Ranger Captain grabs Sentinel and passes tapped out. Corval sacks the Goblin Tutor to tower and casts a Necromancy targeting the Dockside in the graveyard. He pays for Sentinel and I draw from the Rhystic, and then Tivit draws from his Sentinel. Still, no interaction I've seen at all this whole time, these draws that I've had. He grabs the Dockside, makes 6 treasures, sacrifices Necro. He makes treasures, casts a Corvald, sacrifices the necromancy, which sacrifices Dockside, draws 2 from him. At this point, Rocco is trying to politic with Corval to stop popping off because he wants to save the Ranger Captain for me. At this point, I have Final Fortune in my hand, so I'm also trying to get him to cast it, crack it as well. But it doesn't matter if he does because I can just Final Fortune. He also doesn't want to crack it because I've drawn so many cards and he knows I have interaction or thinks that I do. I tell him I do, but it's Rift and I'm tapped out and I don't have any free interaction. So he still doesn't want to crack because he's like, no, you're blue form. Your hand is always full of interaction. You never not have interaction because you're blue form, obviously. So he doesn't want to crack it. And then Corval manages to convince him that he needs to pop off so then he can interact with me at this point, which is like, that's, you know, I'm too tired here. And at this point, I could do better politicking if I was, you know, awake for this match. You know, I would have been able to tell them like, hey man, it's Corval. Corval doesn't interact. Corval wins. Like that's these colors. It's done. There's no interacting with me. It would just be winning the game. There's nothing. What are you talking about? But I couldn't do that because I was just not awake. Rocco accepts if Corval doesn't cast a Skirk Prospector, which he agrees. Corval finishes with a Shusher and has drawn like a lot of cards. I think he discarded a hand size and kept like a good 7, but I think he was up a lot of cards. I don't remember. On my turn, I give Rocco chances at every phase to crack the Ranger, and he doesn't. On my main, I look at my 12 cards in hand. No win, but a gamble. My other relevant cards in hand, though, is a Grand Abolisher, Dockside, Clone, Wheel. So I cast Dockside, make 4 treasures. I show a clone. Rocco asks if I'm winning and what I'm planning to do with the clone. I tell him I don't have Win, I don't have Breach, I don't have Thassa, I don't have Nas. I show him that I want to make a lot of mana and reveal the wheel, that this is what I plan on possibly doing. So it's really up to the wheel if I draw any kind of wit attempts at all. So I tell him he can crack the Ranger Captain now if you want, or just wait till I crack the wheel. Up to you. We do a little bit more back and forth of him asking what I'm going to do and him like trying to like figure out something to interact with, and which him being tapped out shows me that he's got like a Solitude, and I ask him that and he confirms it. So he was talking about the table too of like, does he have to Solitude the Dockside? I tell him if you get rid of the Dockside, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to make a copy of Corval and I'll just be able to draw. So it doesn't like whatever. That's what I tell him. Like it doesn't really matter. You can kill Dockside, I'll just make a copy of Corval. But me winning, it just depends on the wheel or Corval draws. So like I don't got nothing here. So he decides to just Solitude the Dockside. I then make a copy of Corval and I slow play by cracking treasures, and I find myself a Mystical Tutor and Enlightened Tutor. So that's a win if the Grand Abolisher resolves. I then cast the Grand Abolisher. He cracks the Ranger Captain. On the stack, I resolve a Final Fortune. I then use the 2 tutors, stacking the Corval draws to put on top the breach combo on top. Draw them out, and then have all the pieces ready to go. Pass my extra turn. Show the win con with the other stuff I have, and then with wheel and stuff. So I show them, hey, I got it here. You guys want to play it out? Most of the I think 2 of them were like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, we're gonna scoop it up. One person was like, oh, I kind of want to see how you win the game. Like, well, I mean, it's simple. I'll mill you guys out, cast Angel's Grace on myself, and cast Wheel of Fortune. You guys die, or that's a combo. Like there's nothing here. You guys are all topped out. There's nothing you can draw that can stop me here. That's what I got. And he was like, oh, okay. And then I secure the win. Completely asleep this game. I was just like not here. I just was drawing a lot of cards, and then Corval's got me there with the last 2 pieces. Those 2 tutors. I don't know if I could have done if I drew 2 other hard tutors, because it would have been like 2 mana. And then if I had like a Diabolic Intent, I'd have to sacrifice a Corval. So I think I needed specifically the 2 top deck tutors to then get the win and set up for it. So there goes first win, starting out pretty good. A decent amount of time left in the round, so I try to take a break, but really I only have time to get some food. and eat some breakfast and start prepping for the next round since there wasn't a lot of time. So moving on to game 2. It is Kenrith in seat 1, Rocco in seat 2, me in seat 3, Loot in seat 4, which I was a little excited to see how well this Loot does. I know there was a little bit of buzz, but honestly, it didn't seem that convincing to me when I first saw it and read it. So I was excited to see if it did anything. We all keep some form of 7. I think I kept my second 7, and I forgot who else kept like the first 7, but we all kept one of our 7s. And I have a turn 2 Ristic in hand, so I'm not going down a 6 with a turn 2 Ristic. Kenneth starts out with a land. Rocco, land, elf, pass. I land, pass. Loot plays land, bird, passes. Kenneth plays land, cast Dismantler, only shutting me down. So again, another point where the lack of sleep is kicking in, where I could have, it probably would have been fruitless because this guy was like, he seemed to be just dead set on just interacting with me, at least from the small amount of plays that he did. I could have been like, hey, your Dismantler is only gonna hurt me. It doesn't do anything to the other 2 decks, especially with their dorks out. So this Dismantler, it's really only gonna be hurting me. So I could have told him that, but I was just kind of like here again, trying not to, fall asleep at my chair and just like, oh, okay, sure. So Rocco land, cast Rocco for 0, getting nothing, and end step I cast Enlightened Tutor, putting my Ristic in hand, so which I would have been on top of the deck, so then I could have cast Ristic turn 2 if it wasn't for the Dismantler. So my turn, all I got is just Crypt, Mox, all tapped and pass. Loot plays land, casts Leader, passes. Kenrith is thinking about cracking the Dismantler, and the other 2 are like egging him on to like do it because it's only affecting me, and he's like thinking about it, and the other 2 are like, yes, do it, because they don't want, they have like, they're not going to be affected by it, and they'll be able to just out-tempo me out win. And at this point, I'm like kind of awake, so I'm like, wait a minute, what are you like, I'm just here like, are you seriously considering this? I didn't say that, but I'm just like in my mind, like, wait a minute, like, whoa, what's happening here? So then I tell him like, okay, I'll just ask you one question. Can you 1v2 them? And he thinks about it and decides I'll pass priority and he'll go to my turn. So he does. Goes to his turn and then just casts a Ristic Study, passes the turn. Rocco then casts Food Chain, which resolves because I got nothing. He sacks Leader and then casts Squee. So he just fucking had it in his 7. Yeah, I just had it. No dry engines, no nothing. Just has it. Never lucky. Could never be me. So no one has anything, and he just, shows a win. Kenrith starts complaining that I don't have interaction. I told him, you locked me out of the game. The only person at this pod that could effectively deal with Rocco was me. So your Dismantler did nothing. And Rocco had to go through 8 loops before he could show a win. So I start revealing like the top 8 cards if I could have had any interaction, like to stop anything. And like, yeah, in the first like 3 or 4, I think, I don't know. In that pile though, I had like 2 bounce spells. So I'm like, yeah, look, I would have had it. I could have bounced. I would have been able to bounce his stuff. So if you just didn't play the Dismantler. So game was like literally 5 minutes long. And as we're kind of scooping up, Ken was like, oh yeah, I could have just held this open. And he shows an opposition agent. And me and the other 2 players were like, dude, why? Yeah, opposition agent would have been the best. And we're telling him like, dude, you always keep up opposition agent against Rocco. Why you just go in, steal a dockside or steal his win con if you don't think it's gonna get back to you or something? Like, yeah, it's a free dockside right there. Like, what? Like, so we were just confused. Me especially was like, wow, I can't believe it. I lost the game to a misplay and it wasn't even mine. Cool. All right. So bright side, the game was only 5 minutes, so I had a good time to lay down and rest my eyes. Couldn't fall asleep, but I managed to kind of do like a weird in and out of sleep kind of nap. So whatever, I got something. So I've been able to excuse me, I was able to rest up. After that, we go into game 3. So game 3 is Clark Sakashima, Nadu in 2nd seat, me in 3rd seat, and Malcolm Timna in 4th seat. Me and Clark mulligan down to 5. At least it has a turn 3 Ristic and a dockside in it, so potentially turn 2 Ristic if there's enough rocks out. So that's what I'm hoping for. Kark plays Tomb, cast Talisman. Nadu plays Land, it's a halfling. I land pass. Malcolm plays Land, Chromax, fishing Diabolic Tutor. Kark plays Scoundrel, passes. Nadu plays Land, cast Leader, and cast Amber, passes. I crack for a shock land at the end step. I play Land, cast Imp Seal, and putting the study on top. Malcolm plays Land, cast Timna, cast Amber, passes. Kark plays Land, Chromax, cast Kark, passes. Nardu casts Carpet, then casts Bristly Bill into Elf, and pass. I draw my study. I have to cast Dockside for 6 treasures here, cast a Ristic, and I leave 3 mana up and hope no one has a clone. I also have a Chain of Vapor in my hand so I can make more mana, but at that point, I didn't want to just chain Dockside, tap out, cast Dockside, reset to 6, and like I still didn't have anything in hand, so I didn't see a point in doing that. So I wanted to draw another one more card to have something up. I mean, because like, yeah, I could have just done that and then paid 5 mana to cast Crom, and that's kind of it. And I don't know, it just didn't seem too good to me at that point. So I just hold up and pass. Malcolm plays Land and casts the Smothering Tithe, and it resolves, which is fantastic. End step, Kark casts Chain of Vapor, initial target on study, makes a copy of it targeting Nadu. Nadu gets bounced, doesn't continue chain, and then I have to show a misstep just to keep my Ristic Study around, because I'm like, this sucks. But I need to keep this Ristic Study around because it tells me that he's probably trying to cast a bunch of spells, so I need this Ristic Study. So I just show him the mental misstep, and it gets countered, and I keep my Ristic Study around. Kark untaps, casts Sakashima. Malcolm then shows a Swords to Plowshares on the Kark, which was fantastic. We get rid of Kark, and then Saka just enters as another copy of Scoundrel and passes. Nadu casts Ristic Study and passes. End step, I cast Chain targeting my Dockside, and then Malcolm casts a misstep on my Chain counter. This dude just has everything. Go to my turn, play Cavern on Human, cast Soul Ring, and just pass. So I still don't want to tap out for my leaders, just in case. Malcolm plays Land, casts Necropotence. I still don't have nothing, and Nadu is refusing to interact because he's pled some interaction. I saw one was the Force of Negation, and I don't know what else he had. I forgot, he had something else, but he's just like sign biting super hard, refusing to interact here. Malcolm then, so it resolves. Malcolm then casts Timna, puts only 6 life into Necropotence and passes, and he had like 6-7 treasures at that point, so I don't know, that's kind of weird. I think he should have just ripped it there, but oh well. Kark recasts Kark and passes. Nadu plays Land, gets another trigger, draws cards, plays the Seeker of Skybreaker, and passes. Well, the trigger with Bristly Bill with the landfall trigger. And he casts Skybreak, Elf or something, and passes. End step, I cast my Mystical Tutor and I put Nas on top. Go to my turn. Don't think I'm gonna get another turn, so I cast the Grand Abolisher and hope I can just get here. And Nadu hard casts an MBT. Gets countered, and I'm like, fine, I pass. Malcolm plays Land and casts his own GA. I'm forced to play Nas for interaction since Nadu still doesn't want to do anything, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll put a Nas on the stack. And Malcolm casts a Pact of Negation targeting the my Nas. Kark plays Bolt like 4 times because it's bounced back with Kark, so he's like hard casting it to get me and Nadu to draw. Again, at this point, my lack of sleep and awareness, I could have told Kark, and I should have told Kark that like, hey, don't cast anything, hold it up, pass priority, let this Nadu player deal with it because he's got interaction and he's like been refusing this whole time to interact at all. I would just pass and force him to deal with it. Otherwise, we'll just, you know, we're losing here regardless because like Nadu has a lot of, he's been drawing a lot of cards with his Bristly Bill triggers, and like, yeah, at this point I should have been like, no, dude, just pass, don't do anything, let this guy deal with it. Or just, you know, the Timna player is gonna win. So, which is what I should have done. So Kark does that play. We draw a bunch of cards. Nadu then pops off on the stack with a bunch of triggers with Bill. He's drawing landfall, you know, Nadu, Bristly Bill, you know, blink spells to reset Nadu to keep going. And it, oh my god, he ends like this interaction or like holding priority still on the Pact of Negation on my Nas, and like draws half his deck on the stack. Insane. He then casts a Legolas Reflexes on a Dork and lets GA resolve, thinking that like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna activate it, kill the GA once it resolves. And we're just like, you know, like, no, you can't just let GA resolve. And again, at this point, I could have just like, we were just not there. At least, I mean, I was like still like not fully there since I'm like semi unconscious, falling asleep. And the correct player didn't cast it just because like this game was going like super long and so many stuff was happening. But yeah, so I don't know what we were thinking, and I don't know what he was thinking as well, which spell it actually was or whatever. But he's like, yeah, I'm passing on Pact of Negation, hitting the Nas. So Nas gets countered, and then like GA's on the stack, and again he like does not want to interact. He doesn't want to do anything here. So like, okay, GA resolves, and then Malcolm tries to go activate Necro, and Nadu's like, okay, I'll activate my Dork to make mana to kill your Granite Polisher. And you know, then Malcolm Timna's like, no, you can't, because that's a creature ability, and you can't activate creature abilities with GA. And he's just like, oh, I thought mana abilities didn't count. I'm like, no, it's just abilities. You can't. So then Malcolm Timna proceeds to win the game. So another loss to a throw, which was pretty sick. In that whole, I drew a few cards off of it, but I just didn't have shit. I didn't have any interaction, and all the interaction I found was like Flusterstorm and stuff like that, which I had no mana to cast any of it, I believe. So yeah, I couldn't cast any of my interaction, and I didn't see any of my free spells to hopefully try to let my Nas resolve or force him to try to stop my Nas. So that was it. And yeah, another game. This went to like, I think at time, the game ended with Malcolm Timna winning. So I got to sit there for a full 80 minutes to watch someone throw a game. So that was so upsetting. 2 for 2 right now with me losing the game because the players misplaying. And man, it's not even me misplaying, which sucks. So yeah, that's how game 3 went. Not great. Very frustrated at this point. But a little too tired to be completely like frustrated. It hasn't like hit me yet of how just dumb this game and the last game was. So that's how it goes. And I try to go to the restroom, eat a little bit of snacks like really fast before we get into the next game, and try to be ready for it. And I'm slowly kind of waking up a little bit more, but man, I'm definitely not like, I'm feeling it now where I'm like, man, I could have like politicked more. I could have just done so much, but God, these early tournaments, man, and also just me not being able to sleep. So we go on to game 4. And this time it's me in seat 1, Rogsai in seat 2, Kitten in seat 3, and another blue farm in seat 4. I'm mulligan a 5 once again. Rogsai mulligans to 5-2, Kitten mulligans to 6, and a blue farm mulligans to 3. I start out with a Spire and Soul Ring. Rog casts Mox, Manifold Roger plays a fetch. Kitten casts Mox Diamond, fetches Tropical, and casts Leader. Blue farm shocks Holofound and casts J-Lo. Rogsai fetches for Surveil Land and pitches a Rollick. I cast Ristic and play Satzone and pass. Rogsai casts Wheel of Misfortune, Pain for Ristic. Me and Blue Farm decide to pay 10 life. Kitten pays 0 since he's like, I'm willing to keep my hand so we can have the Rogsai pay some more life. So we can force him to pay some life to have to get this wheel. Now, at this point, again, another piece where I could have just been like, hey, we should just say like 20 or something pretty high, because he has to wheel, and no matter what life we pick, like he's gonna do it regardless. So I should have said we should have been like, pay 20 life, that way forcing him to pay 21, because there's no way he doesn't pay 21 to wheel, because he's got like nothing in his hand. He's mulligan down to 5, and I think he had like, I think he was Hellbent after that card. Well, I guess with draw per turn, so he had maybe 1 card in hand, I believe. So he needed this wheel to go off. So again, another like missed opportunity here where I could have gotten a little bit more life out of the Rogsai. So me and Blue Farm pay, we say 10, he didn't say 0, and of course Rogsai says 11 to be able to wheel. Rogsai then just plays Satisfying Cavern and passes after that. So seems like he had, I don't know what he has, but nothing he could have followed up with. Kitten plays Mox Diamond, not paying for the Ristic, plays Cephalid, and plays Ristic himself. He then casts Moon Silver Key, not paying. Rogsai moves to counter, and Kitten succeeds in convincing him not to, which I tried to convince him here. Now that I'm like, I saw the missed opportunity, and I'm like trying to be a little bit more alert. I'm trying to convince him like, hey man, you should counter it, because then it's a card that's no longer in his deck. So if he casts this right here and then cracks it, he's got the Basalt in hand, and now he always has it in hand. But if he casts the counter here, we don't have to worry about it at all, because then that gets countered, and the Basalt's still in his deck, and he still has to find a way to get it out of there. So I'm like, I think you should counter this here. And also because I want to get counter spells out of the hand too. So, oh boy, I think I just lost myself on my notes. Where did it go? Oh, let's see. Okay, here we go. So and then Kinnan manages to succeed to no, you gotta have something up for blue farm. You gotta have something up for blue farm, which, oh man, it sucks. To that be an easy way to just convince people to just do something. Just blue farm, bro. You blue farm. So whatever. So Kinnan passes after that. Blue farm plays Ancient Tomb, cast Crom, not paying for Ristic. He then casts Petal, paying for Ristic, and then casts Sentinel, not paying for Ristic. Then attacks Roxai and passes. I have 11 cards in hand, a lot of colorless mana, and not a lot of good stuff in my hand. I cast Crypt, not paying for Sentinel, cast Ragavan, blue farm draws. I cast Imseal, Arcane Signet, and pass. Roxai takes one from the vault, cast Ragavan, paying for Ristic, and just passes. So looks like he probably doesn't have anything good in his hand, or it would draw me a lot of, or draw a lot of cards, draw the table a lot of cards. But the way that he's kind of, his body language, it kind of tells me he's literally got nothing. So I'm like, okay, hopefully I find something, maybe just like one tutor or something to open up my hand, because like I got a lot of half pieces of stuff, so nothing good. That's his turn, and Kinnan plays land and passes. Blue farm plays Forbidden Orchard, casts Strandith, and swings Crom at me and passes. Now this sucks because the Imseal, I think, put a, what was it? I'm pretty sure it put Breach on top, I think. So now I'm shut off from my, now I'm shut off, which sucks. Because I could have used Breach to just get some, man, what did I have in my hand? I had something in my graveyard that I can like probably find something with, find some other pieces, but yeah, so I'm like, okay, well, there goes that. So that's turned off. I untap, play fetch for a scrubland. I still don't get anything. I was setting up for the breach, like I said, and I got nothing. So I pass. Roxai untaps, draws, passes, end step. Kinnan activates and flips into a Nyxbloom Ancient. So we're all prepping to lose, and I am as well. So I'm like, oh, I guess he's got it. Kinnan takes his turn. At the draw step, blue farm was like trying to do something at upkeep, but we tell him like, before it goes into phases change, like you can still do something here at the draw step. So before he gets his turn, you can still do it. Did a little too late. So he decides to show a path targeting Kinnan. Kinnan floats mana and puts an activation on a stack, and then floats more mana and hard cast a mind break. Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Blue farm shows a path targeting Kinnan. Kinnan floats mana and puts an activation on the stack. Roxai then shows a snap targeting the Nyxbloom Ancient. Kinnan then floats more mana and he hard casts a mind break trap, and he's paying for everything because Nyxbloom making a bunch of mana, so he's paying for everything. And he targets snap and path. Blue farm shows a fierce on the mind break. Kinnan tries to convince him again not to because there needs to be interaction for me. I try to tell him, hey dude, we can't leave Nyxbloom out with Kinnan. Like, you have to counter this. That's so many activations. He flips into a Speedborn Muse, it's over. He flips into a Sphinx. He's drawing 4 cards per turn from you, since you have Crom and Sentinel, which are mandatory draws. Like, you can't let this. And Kinnan again, he's just like, oh bro, blue farm, and I'm just like, oh my god, like there's no way. And convinces him, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna cast it. So mind break chop resolves, and Kinnan flips into a Gilded Take, taking Dranith, and then passes after that. Blue farm casts Soul Ring, casts Gamble, paying for both, pitches a Opal to Gamble, and then casts Fish, which I'm assuming he tried to gamble for a Fish. At this point, I'm thinking I could probably try to go for a win here now that I've drawn a bit more cards, and I think I'd have to cast like at least 5 cards to set up some kind of win, like with Breach. So I'm like, that's a little too many cards for me to, draw him. So I think at this point I have to counter this fish, which I don't want to, but I got, it's not like I can cast this spell on my turn for free, so I just hard cast Force of Negation on the fish. And I'm hoping to grab his counter spell too, and that way it'll just be easier for me to, show my win with there being one less counter spell at the table. So he doesn't do it, and it resolves, and he continues to pass. I untap, and at this point I have some tutors and Born, and one piece of interaction that I'm trying to save it for someone to try to win, and for me to attempt to win on top of him. But with Kinnan about to go to the turn, I think we lose because I can't stop it. Spells don't stop Kinnan flips, so I hope people remember that. Counter spells don't stop Kinnan flips. Kill the Kinnan. So I just pass and wait to lose, I guess. And then Roxai attacks me with Roxai, even though he's asking the table and asking me if I would let Roxai go through, and all of us are like, no, we won't. So then he attacks me with his Ragavan. Sorry, his Ragavan, not his Roxai. He attacks me with Ragavan, and I just trade with mine, which was weird that he would just sack his creature, since he needs a creature more than I do to be able to cast stuff, like, with Phyrexian Tower and so on. So I don't know what that was about. That was really weird. I didn't have Tymna out, so it's not like it would be a Tymna draw. Even if I cast Tymna, if it would somehow made it back to my turn, it's not like I would have anybody to swing in either. So I don't know what that was about. So that was it. And he just passes after that. Kinnan then casts goes on his turn, and he casts a Metamorph. And everyone's like, oh, what is he going to try to copy? And I'm just like, it's Nyx Bloom. What do you mean? What would he copy? It's Nyx Bloom. And no one has anything for it. And it resolves. He casts a Signet, paying for the draws since he can with now 2 Nyx Bloom agents. Makes like 19 mana with it. Puts an activation on the stack, whips, activates, puts an Elvish Spirit Guide on onto the battlefield, activates, gets a Delighted Halfling, activates, and then gets Glen Alondra. He flips again and goes into a Hullbreaker Horror. And the table is sad. And I'm sitting here with giving the table at least a blue farm player, I told you so, man. This is not interaction, it's just the win. Kinnan doesn't flip interaction, he flips wins. This is I told you, you don't let this Kinnan out with Nyx Bloom. You just don't let this, you just let this stay on the battlefield, especially when there was all this removal already that you've committed to it. You should have just, those were your spells. You short of swords and you just let it get countered. You're already committing. You might as well make sure that all this stuff gets gone. So yeah, he's there. He has a Hullbreaker, and he's like, yeah, I got it here. And I tell that, I'm like, yeah, he's got it here. Yeah, it's whatever. And the blue farm player again is like, oh, I kind of want to see it play it out. And I'm just like, okay, bro, you obviously, whatever. Let's waste our time. And I'm like, sure, you know what, play it out. Maybe I draw something with Rhystic Study. So Kinnan then cracks Moonsilver Key, driving Basalt, casts Basalt, paying for the draws. Hullbreaker trigger targets his Amber. Blue form holds priority, and he casts a Fierce finally, not paying for the Rhystic, to try to counter it, but he's got Glen Alondra, so it doesn't really matter, but he just shows it anyways. He then Kinnan floats mana, puts an activation on the stack. I hold priority, and I cast Born. And Kinnan then holds priority, puts another activation on the stack. And I don't know why I cast an Angel's Grace here. I think just because I wanted to set up for some lines, but I don't know what I was thinking he could flip into that could have stopped me. That really would have mattered. So I'm not sure why I cast the Angel's Grace. I guess to draw the blue farm player, which at this point it's not like he could have drawn anything to help out. It would have just been able to stop me. So misplay there. Preemptive, a premature Angel's Grace cast. So not sure what I was there, but lack of sleep. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Kinnan flips again. He continues to flip and whiffs, and then the other flip resolves into a Desert Hall, which is just great. Born resolves, and I still hold priority on Glen Alondra because it's still in the graveyard, and it mattered, I guess, because I drew a Deluge. So I'm like, fantastic. Cast Deluge for 8. And no one has anything, and it resolves. Amber is bounced back to his hand. Again, another misplay by me with lack of sleep, because I should have let that hold onto the battlefield one more time, because after that, I then flash in a Dockside. The one extra treasure wouldn't have mattered, but it just would have been the correct play to do before the Hullbreaker trigger resolved and bouncing the Amber, so I should have let that stay on the field. just have extra mana. I cast Dockside, makes 6 treasures. I then cast Diabolic Tutor that I drew to be able to try to go for a win. And Rogsai shows the worst kind of spell that I could have seen, a Flusterstorm. And I think in my hand, I think I had interaction. I don't remember. Probably not, but definitely nothing to stop a Flusterstorm. So he shows a Flusterstorm, and my win attempt is thwarted, which kind of sucks because I don't think he. Yeah, it kind of sucked. But so that was it. Win attempt was thwarted. Glenn comes back. Fierce is countered, and Basalt resolves. Kinnan then passes after that. Blue Farm takes turn, casts Witchclaw, paying for it, and passes. I untap, crack fetch. Blue Farm casts an Archivist to draw a card. I cast Crom and Timna. I attack Rogsai. Second main, I draw 1 card. I try to reverse Thoracle, a Consultation, and Rogsai shows a Mental Misstep. So I'm like, oh man, of course, dude. And I think those were his last 2 cards in his hand. I don't know, I don't remember, but he had nothing. So it kind of felt bad because I don't think he had the points to even like win. Even if with this game going into a draw and him potentially winning, he would have been bubbled out. So there was no point in him stopping this. And again, I could have, like, I wasn't there, but I could have just been like, hey bro, you're not gonna, like, even if you lose here and win the next one, like, you're not gonna bubble in, and even if you draw this game and win the next one, you're still gonna get bubbled out. So there's no point in you casting this right here because it just doesn't do anything for you, and it would help me out to be able to secure my seat. To be able to secure my seat in the top 16. So I should have done that, but again, I'm just here like, oh my god, like annoyed how much interaction there is, and no one wanted to do anything to Kinnan, and how like a lucky deluge saved us. I was like annoyed and like, oh my god, like what's happening here? So the game ends in a draw with that, since it went to time on my turn. So that sucked. Hopefully that's a lesson for other people to just kill the Kinnan when there's a million mana out, because they'll just flip into Nyx Bloom and just flip into the winds. Like, there's no flip into interaction. That's not a thing for Kinnan. Kinnan doesn't flip interaction. They flip into just win. So yeah, hopefully the other players learned that lesson. Blue Farm player, I'm sure, learned that lesson the hard way. So hopefully moving forward, he just respects the Kinnan and gets rid of it when he can, especially when he commits spells to it. Like, at that point, yeah, you've already committed spells to it. You might as well just get rid of it. But yeah, so another game too, where just me messing up with, a little bit more table talking, and I probably could have got there. But just, oh man, this lack of sleep. Now with like how long I've been awake and lack of sleep and how much brain power I've been using, I'm starting to feel it, Mr. Krabs. I'm like not here. I'm just like, oh my god, I can just feel my brain melting and me just like trying to stay awake here, and it's really hurting. So hopefully into game 5 I can just maybe get lucky and get like an early fish or Ristic and just get there like I did my first game, just to be able to secure my top 16. So we get into game 5, and it's me in first seat, Rogsai in second seat, Obnixilis in third seat, and another Kinnan in C4. I keep a second 7. Rogsai starts out with a pre-game cavern, and I play land, Chromox, J-Lo, and Castle Crom, which is not too bad. Rogsai plays land, Soul Ring, Talisman of Diligence, and a Imp Seal. Obnixilis plays land, Crypt, Sensei's top, and puts an activation, passes. Kinnan plays land, Elf passes. I untap, cast Vamp Tutor at the upkeep, and then because I know Rogsai is fetched for a Dockside, so I mean I could Vamp Tutor for a Dockside, but it doesn't do anything. I don't have anything to follow up with, so I'm like, he's probably gonna cast spells. I need to get a fish, and I don't want to tap out really, or I don't think he even had the mana for. I think it was the mana short. I think for Ristic Study. So I get the fish. And draw it, play it, land, attack Rogsai just to get his life low, just in case he's going for Nanos, and I just pass. Rogsai untaps, cast the Dockside, making 4 treasures, and sure enough, cast the cast Addos. Kinnan casts Force of Negation, pitching March. Rogsai holds priority and shows Flusterstorm. I'm drawing Fluster. I'm drawing from these spells. Fluster is countered. I draw from these stuff. And then Rogsai, what was that? Oh, so from these counters, all I had in my hand was a snap and a chain of vapor. So, they're just like, hey, what do you got? I'm like, I could bounce his dockside, and like I got nothing. So, they show the interaction. I draw, and I luckily draw into force will, pitching a snap, which kind of sucks because I would love to have it for my own dockside, but oh well. And then Roxai thwarted, he passes. Obnixilis plays his leader and passes. Kinnan casts leader, Fell War, me drawing 2, then cast fish. In my hand is some tutors, so I could do another long chain, just like another game where I'm like, man, I have some tutors in my hand, and I would have to do a long chain of spells to try to attempt some kind of win on my turn, which I probably could. Now that I know these two players, Kinnan probably doesn't have anything. Sorry, Kinnan. Roxai doesn't have anything, and Obnixilis probably can't stop me. And now, especially right now, since he's tapped out, most he could show would be a deflecting swap. So I'm thinking here, like, man, but I do have a offer you can't refuse, which I'm kind of scared of giving these treasures to Kinnan, especially with Kinnan being out. But I'm like, you know what? If he, I think I still do it here because I'm pretty sure I can get there. So even if he has counter spells, I can draw some cards and maybe just like, even if things get countered, play around it if I get no interaction, which I currently don't have. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to offer your fish. And he's like, okay. It gets countered, and, he gets the 2 treasures, and then cracks the treasures and hardcast a perplexing chimera. And he passes after that. So I'm just here thinking, great. Now my win is thwarted with this goddamn chimera. And I still don't know how to play around a chimera. I don't know what correct spells I could, give to a Kinnan player that won't stop me. Or like he will take the bait for me to take it. So, man, I just don't know how to play around this, or if even you can play around this card. So I'm annoyed. So I'm like, great. So go to my turn, pay for fish, cast Arcane Signet, cast Fell War, and I had to tap City of Brass. I have a lot of like City of Brass and other like ping 1 damage pingers on me. So Ob is like triggering from me. He triggers, and I think like second trigger, he flips into a fucking Gothy Voidwalker. So now I have 2 stack pieces about to land, and I just like, great. So I pass, sobbing silently, hoping the table doesn't hear me. And it goes to Roxai's turn. He then casts the backside of Bergie, and Kinnan yoinks it. Sure enough, Kinnan doesn't... I think he's getting low on cards in his hand. I think right now he's got like 2 cards in hand. So he's like, yeah, I'm just going to take it. And the Chimera's still around to, stop me or stop someone else. And then Roxai just passes after that. Ob plays land, casts Cabal Rip for 3 mana, casts Dothy, I draw from both, and he passes. Kinnan taps, draws, and passes. Now at this point, with the stacks pieces, I am pretty stuck because I have like half of a breach combo and like tutors that I know Roxai is going to yoink from me, so I can't cast them into the Perplexing Chimera. So at this point, we just, slowly do nothing for a few turns, as Obnixilis is slowly building up value, getting Bowmasters out with pingers, casting stuff. I'm drawing, because I'm like, I need to draw some kind of removal, like a deluge soon before this army gets too big, and like I gotta get rid of this table. So I'm having to draw cards, and we're getting pinged out, and he's just like flipping a bunch of stuff. And he just like quickly gets, pretty quickly just gets into the lead. At this point, we get to it where his army is like, I don't know, 20 power or something, and he's thinking of attacking me, and I'm just like, well, like, oh man, I have a dockside at this point in my hand, and I obviously don't want to die because I want to try to go for a win, and I have also a Born Upon a win, and I can't do a lot of stuff. So he's like trying to think of kill me, and I'm like, hey man, there's, you got your Dothy, which is stopping me. There's other things stopping me here. Like there's nothing I can do here to go for a win. Roxai can still like attempt to win here. So like, and I'm like, yeah, if you attack and kill the Roxai, I won't go for a win, even though I can't. And he takes the deal and swings and kills the Roxai, which I did not want him to die because I had Dockside and I wanted to have some lands. I wanted to keep him around so I can have more triggers. So I was like, man, that sucks, but I had to do it to try to stay alive. So we go to my turn. I sculpt my 7, and that's all I could do. And I cast, go to his turn, force him to crack his Dothy. So while it's in the graveyard, I then go for a win attempt on the stack, casting Born, cast Breach, cast some stuff out of the grave, but I don't have enough things in the graveyard or enough mana to go for stuff since there's not enough Dockside triggers on the stack now with Rockside gone. So I go for some. It gets countered, I believe, from the Kinnin. I then cast Tainted Pact, tapping out, and the only thing left in my library that can win me the game is the what's it called? Obviously the Thassa win, and I still have LED and Brain Freeze. So I need to hit LED first, and I need to make sure I don't hit the Brain Freeze first, because then I don't have mana. I'm currently tapped out. So I can cast LED, crack it, and then if I have to, pact again and look for the a Wheel of Fortune or look for the Brain Freeze to keep going. So then I'm like, cool, Tainted Pact, this is it. I need to find the LED. I proceed to exile my entire library. Exiling Thassa, exiling Meme Betrayal, and I get to like 14 cards left in the deck, and then I show Brain Freeze. So I'm like, great. Just great. So yeah, fantastic. I'm just like, great. So Brain Freeze gets exiled, keep going, and I show LED in like the last 7 cards of my library. I think on the last 7 or 8 cards. Find the LED, put it into my hand, cast LED, crack it, and there's just nothing left in my library to do anything to go for a win. I know at some point the Kinnin player discarded a what was it? Not Hullbreaker Horror, Tidespell Tyrant into the graveyard for a the Horn activation, which is gone now. But he had it was in the graveyard, so I'm like, man, if I had enough mana, I could have like Meme Betrayal, try to get it back, win on the stack, make a copy of make infinite mana, then keep bouncing and make copies of the stupid Bowmaster and kill the table that way. So I'm like, oh man, if I just didn't exit my whole library. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, I got nothing here. I'm willing to scoop it up and give it to Obnixilus, which I'm sure he just has it here anyway. So let's not waste any time. Kinnin agrees, like, yeah, well, we'll scoop it up. And we're like, oh, you got it. We don't like, I can maybe figure out some way to like go to time, like just cast like Angel's Grace, like, something. Like, I think that was in my graveyard. So I'm like, I could go make it a draw, I guess, but I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be a dickhead. There's no chance of me going to top 4, so I'm not gonna, draw out the game when it's gonna like hurt all of us. So I'm like, yeah, I'll scoop it up. You get the win. It's fine. I'll pass. So he wins the game there. Now, I could have. Yeah, I could have done like a Final Fortune thing, but I just didn't have enough mana, and any interaction there from the Kinnin, which he showed, would have stopped me. And that's something I could have done and still would have upheld my deal, because all my deal was I'm not winning my turn, I'm passing. So I would have just, Final Fortune, pass, go to my turn with the tutor. But I didn't have really much to do it, and I would have tapped out to like cast Tainted Pact, get Thassa, Consultation, go for a win. I would have been, I think I was 1 mana short, actually, thinking back on it. But it would have tapped me out entirely, and I just didn't want, like, I would have been blown out by any interaction. Oh, right. I didn't want to do that because Obnixilus had a, what's it called? Man, a Dualcaster Mage in his hand that he revealed. I forgot what he revealed it from, but from Sensei's top. At some point he did so, I don't know how, but he revealed it. We knew he had in his top of his library, and he had it in his hand. So I knew he had it in his hand. So I'm like, I can't do this. I need to cast stuff where he's like not really willing to copy it. So all the spells I cast, he wasn't willing to copy it. So I know I would have like, and then I think when I cast a tutor, he was like the only time he could have done it, and he still didn't do it. So I guess I could have done it there, but I know if I would, like, if I was showing Thassa, I would have Tainted Pact, and then he would have copied it and found a Red Blast for the Thassa, and I didn't have any interaction. Even in my like sculpted 7, I just had a win. So I'm like, I couldn't do that win. So I tried to go for the play with me sculpting my 7, passing, and him casting more spells, so hopefully draw into some more interaction or into some of the pieces, which he cast like 2 spells, I think, before he went to combat and tried to attack me and kill me. So that sucked. So again, another piece, the people just had interaction to stop me again. And that's another loss. And that ends my run at Top Deck Titans, which really sucked. Felt bad. Man, I tried to go to sleep early. I think I laid down like around like 9 o'clock and just could not go to sleep. I think at some point I did like the weird, like where you fall asleep and jolt awake like an hour in. I did that like a few times. So I went like, I laid down around 9 o'clock and tried to like wind down and didn't get to sleep till like maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock is when I probably fell asleep. Maybe even later. So that felt really bad. No sleep, some of the worst Magic I've played, and like 2 of those games I probably could have got there if I was just awake to be able to tabletop more effectively. So that was really bad. So unfortunately that ends my run, and yeah, hopefully in the next one I get a little bit more sleep. Maybe I'll invest in some I usually try to use like melatonin before I have these tournaments to try to go to sleep to get some, but even then, like, it takes a while to kick in, and I've had so much that I don't even think they're that effective for me anymore. But this coming weekend I do have another tournament over at Card Art. It's gonna be my return there from the last time. I think episode 1 or 2 I did an episode of it, maybe not, but I did a previous episode on my Card Art experience the first time. I made it a top 4, so hopefully this time around I'll be able to make it a top 4 again. Hopefully I get to play against some really experienced players that I have yet to play against. I have yet to have a game against Zane. I really want to play, see how, you know, the table dynamic is with them. Ori, I haven't played against Ori, and some other good players in the area. So hopefully I'll be able to get some games in with them and you know, learn something. So hopefully I do well. But however, I am thinking of trying out Stella. I've been playing her in my local weeklies, just like get a break from the blue farm and try, you know, get my brain in other different kind of decks. Because if you play other decks, it kind of helps you learn more, you know, lines, and you know, I think it makes you a better Magic player if you play some other decks. But you definitely need to stick to one deck if you really want to get good at it. But you know, I'm trying to play other decks and trying to learn some stuff. But Stella has been like super fun. I've been having a lot of fun with her. There's definitely been some games where I just like whiff. Like I had a recent weekly game where I had like, yeah, there's a Diabolic Tutor on the stack, and I had Flare of Duplication, made a copy of it like twice. Getting a, what was it? A Breach, casting the Breach, you know, copying the duplication to copy another one. But unfortunately, the current list that I'm running is like kind of greedy, and it doesn't run the lines with doesn't run Brain Freeze line, Brain Freeze combo. I took it out to go a little bit more cantrip heavy. Oh, a little bit slightly more cantrip heavy to go in fully on the Stella Lee win with the one card that makes the little auras that deal damage. Twisted Fealty. There you go. Blanking out on the name. So I wanted to, I've been trying that out, and it's been very feast or famine. So I might have to put back in the Breach combo just in case. And I put in a Thassa's Oracle, just like if the Twisted Fealty gets exiled, I can just like have the other spells where I draw my deck and just cast Thassa's. So I have Thassa in there, but I mean, I don't know if I keep Thassa and Breach. Maybe I do, but I don't know what else I take out to put back in, because I would just need to put back in the Brain Freeze and the LED. The only reason also why I took them out is because it feels bad to just have like a Brain Freeze in hand, not Breach, and like if that Brain Freeze was just a cantrip, like I could potentially win here. Like I've had that a few times, like the first time I built the deck, when Ian made a deck of it, I mean a video of it. So I did try it out, and I've like multiple times in like games that I played with friends trying it out, I just had like a dead Brain Freeze in my hand that did absolutely nothing. At one point I even pitched it to a Force of Will to go for a win, and it was like super greedy, and like if anyone had one piece of interaction, like I was screwed. So yeah, like I even did that at some point, because it was just like doing nothing unless I had the rest of the cards. So that felt really bad, and it's not like I have a draw engine, so I can't really draw into these stuff. I have to use my cantrips. So I, you know, even more reason why I wanted to just cut those cards. So but I think they might just be too good that I have to put them back in. But so this coming weekend for card art, I'm still gonna decide whether I'm gonna play the classic blue farm or if I might try out Stella just to see how it goes. So wish me luck. Hopefully I get to top 4 again. Hopefully I get the win. That would be fantastic. Haven't got a win in a hot second, so I would love to get one. But that's it for this week, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please like the video, subscribe, leave a comment below if you participated in Top Deck Titans. I'd love to hear how the tournament went. Top Deck crew, or the Titans crew, which used to be Paths to the Peak, they've been great. Tournament was ran great. I always have a good time at the tournaments. So look, I'm glad it went as smoothly as usual. So it was pretty fantastic being at the tournament again. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week, and good night.